This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Conor Benn. How are you, mate?
I'm great, as it happens.
Keeping our distance, obviously. Your fight has just been announced for April the 10th against Samuel Vargas. So, on the back of the comfortable win over Sebastian Formella, Vargas will represent another step up for you.
You know, Formella is a very credible opponent, world level, former IBO world champion. So they both just bring different qualities. Formella was good at what he does. He was awkward. He was, a little bit tricky, quite negative. I'm expecting a completely different fight with Vargas. You'll see a completely different me. So as far as step up, yeah, it'd be more of a fight. But that's where you see the best of me. So it don't. Step up or no step up, they're two completely different fighters, both good at what they do. So, you'll see a different me, a different trick to my trade.
What did you take from the Sebastian Formella fight? What did you take as your learning curves from that fight?
What did I take? Again, I can deal with the pressure, no problem. I can deal with everyone doubting me. I can deal with everyone saying it's a step too far. And, I think that'll be the case for my whole career. Because I show levels of vulnerability early on in my career, people won't forget that. It sort of does me a favour, to be honest, because everyone's going to go in, every fight I go into, the opponent's going to keep thinking, I'll get my hands on him, but it ain't the case. So me going in there with Vargas, of course he's going to look at my last fight and think, there's holes here, holes there. I done what needed to be done, and I'll always do what needs to be done to get a win. So irrelevant of how I perform my last fight, or the fight before that, or the fight before that, I'm always evolving. You can watch my last tape, and I'll be a completely different fighter come fight night again.
Do you think people are looking at you compared to kind of the first 18 months of your career, possibly looking you as to your own admission, a bit raw, maybe a touch of the novice in you way because of your limited experience at amateur level, but they're looking at you now as a completely different fighter. So the fights that you kind of had in that first 18 months now have kind of made you the fighter you are now with those improvements.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, listen, and damn straight they should be putting respect on my name. Damn straight they should. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's saying, oh, you won't achieve this, you won't. For them, it's impossible. Not for me, because that's their mindset. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And that's why they are where they are in life. Do you know what I mean? So, and this is why I am where I am. You fall down, you get back up, dust yourself off and go again. And, if I called it quits after my second fight, when I went back to the changing room, in tears at my performance, then the Paynard fight, and then the second Paynard fight weren't even that great. And to then me knocking out three-time European challenger in Juicy Koivula headline, who people thought was a step too soon. He went the distance with Vargas, and people say Koivula should have run up, banged him out in 2 rounds. So when you want to go based on that, I've done that, and then I've just beat Formella. Easy. I've had other sparring sessions. Do you know what I mean? So people are saying, oh, it's just... And then after the fight, the people are going, yeah, but he was tailor-made for Conor and all that. Yet before the fight, they're giving it all that, saying, it's a step two. So, don't come with all that, do you know what I mean? And then I deal with them like I did, and then they go, oh, yeah, he was tailor-made. No, don't be a turncoat. Stick to what you say, and, I'll hold you to that. Because then the same people after the fight go, yeah, Conor was this and he was that. No, I made him look like that. That was me. And the same with Vargas, all you lot writing me off. Listen, the same thing will happen again. But then stick to your guns. After the fight, once I deal with him, swallow the humble pill.
Is that the way you kind of look at that? We've spoken about public perception all the way since you turned professional. Do you look at that as people are kind of almost waiting for you to fall?
Yeah. But you know what? I watch some fights and I like an upset. I do. I love an upset. And, so do the public. So people are always going to wait for me to lose. It's if I wait for other fighters to lose because, you think, oh, it just has that I don't know, what would you say? It has that, what word am I looking for?
What, for yourself or?
No, like when you see a prospect lose, you think, how's he going to come back from this? It's more exciting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a certain intrigue level to what you're talking about in the fact of, especially kids that are talked up so much and not necessarily talking about you, but talking about any kind of prospect on any stage, when they lose it to someone that was meant to give them a hard fight, but they end up getting beat, it is almost like a shock factor. And I don't know why you're shocked sometimes, because maybe you haven't seen enough of that fight to know if they're any good or not. So, but we just kind of get carried away with the hype sometimes and think, oh, he's beating him. But I suppose people wanting to beat you from day one because of your surname, let's say it how it is.
Yeah, there's loads of fighters who've been calling me out from day dot. And, half of them are lost and fallen off already. Do you know what I mean? Majority of them have fallen off. I don't even hear none of them no more. Do you know what I mean? The cream always rises. So I ain't in a hurry to do nothing. The hard fights will come, and I said this from day dot. I ain't got a rush. The hard fights will come. People are now saying the Formella was a hard fight. Koivula was a hard fight. I can relate back to them two because they were supposed to be hard fights. The same with Vargas. They said it's going to be a hard fight until I ping his head off with my jab. So, you'll see a completely different fight. If he wants to fight in the middle, again, I'll make him soon regret that. And if he wants to box, he's definitely going to outbox me.
Vargas' list of opponents, obviously he's been in with just about everyone in and around the weights. Obviously we talked about Amir Khan, that was in 2018, and you reminded me actually that you actually fought on that undercard.
Yeah, I fought Truman on the undercard. I remember watching Vargas drop Khan, and I didn't think I'd be fighting him, funnily enough. And then it wasn't until the Koivula fight, where I answered a lot of questions in that fight, where I thought, you know what, I fancy my chances against Vargas. Funnily enough, his name just popped in my head. And then I thought, yeah, he dropped Khan. And, I know Khan ain't got the most credible jaw, but, he's a very credible fighter. And, he's done a lot in the game, achieved, the highest. So it's a fight I really fancy because I think I'm heavier-handed than Khan. I think I'll give Vargas more problems than Khan did, definitely. Because, I'll happily sit there in the pocket with him and, go typical South American style fighting.
Straight after the Formella win, when you kind of had your first conversations with Eddie Hearn about where kind of you're going forward, was that the message from yourself to him? I'm sure he was on the same page as you, that it's got to be stepped up from that. We're keeping this rolling, and we're keeping the opponents kind of improving as they're going on as well. Well,
I said to Eddie and Tony before the Formella fight got made, we was trying for Jenkins, but it just kept looking like it weren't happening. And I just knew it weren't going to happen, not from our end. And I said, listen, I ain't fighting unless you get me someone better than Jenkins. I am not fighting because I don't want to. There's no thrill in it if you ain't fighting someone who's going to give you an hard fight or, expect to have. So I said, I ain't interested. Don't give me another bum. Don't give me all these other bods calling me out. I ain't interested. I'm on my own journey. If you can't fly someone in from me, world ranked, a lot higher than me, someone who's really credible, then I ain't fighting. So, and that was my attitude, and that was genuinely how the conversation went with me, Tony and Eddie. And, we were looking at the likes of Adrian Granados. We were looking at who people say should have beat Broner. You're looking at Formella, who, it's taken a few undefeated records, 16, 17, no undefeated records, and just lost on points to Sean Porter. So that's the level we want to mix it at. And then after the Formella fight, give me another good name. Let's see. Let's test the waters. And you've got to have these fights. You've got to test the waters. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you will never know. But every time it comes down to answering the questions, I answer them. I give myself 100% out of every test, that's been set before me.
I think people kind of can see that attitude in yourself when you've had those kind of earlier on fights in your career with Payneard, etc., and people kind of saw the bollocks you've got. But I think moving into this stage of your career, people now should realise and know that you will pretty much just about fight anyone. But that's sometimes for your promoter and Tony as well to just kind of map that out, because you will say yes to anyone, really, wouldn't you?
Not anyone who don't bring nothing to the table.
No, I'm just saying, you're not going to look at a fighter and go, I'm not ready for that fight or anything. You would take. I'm talking about looking at fighters that some people might say you're not ready for, as opposed to looking back.
You're never ready until you're ready. You're never ready until you try. Could I do another 5-10 learning fights? Probably. If I was in the States, probably could get away with another 5-10. learning fights. Could I do with that? Probably, because it's never ending learning. It's never ending learning. Do you know what I mean? I'm absorbing everything like a sponge. Do you know what I mean? And not only am I learning it, I'm displaying it as well. I'm doing it. It's another thing learning it and doing it sparring. There's another thing doing it on fight night, and I'm doing everything I'm taught in training on fight night every single time. So as far as dealing with the pressure and not folding under the pressure, I can do that, no problem. Big main events, no problem. 9 millions of viewing, no problem. It don't. I'm learning about myself. It's character building. All this is just character building. You learn so much about yourself and who I am as a person. What makes me tick. What gets me up. And the more my career's gone on, the more I realise I don't need to fight everybody calling me out. I don't. Otherwise I'd be 60-0 now. So I ain't got to fight everyone who's calling me out. I ain't got to reply to everyone who's calling me out. I ain't got to justify myself to everyone calling me out. Do you know what I mean? I ain't going to bother. Unless you got something I want. Unless, you're higher than me. Unless you're more... I ain't interested. Like, at all. When you've had it from day, it don't really bother you anymore. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you just soon become used to it. I see other fighters getting called out and they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to cope with it. They're all flyer arguing back on social media, and I just think you look like a bunch of logs. Do you know what I mean? Going back and forth, who's got the time of day to do that? I certainly ain't. I've got too much happening in life to be arguing on Twitter with someone I could not quite frankly care about at all, and I'm gonna let that person rev me up. Nah, mate.
Yeah, I think you make a valid point there. Just a lot of fighters call a lot of fighters out, but it doesn't mean because you're being called out that you have to take a fight with that person unless it made sense for both parties.
It makes sense for all the other parties, but unless they're like a big clash, I ain't interested. I ain't not giving nobody clout off my name. No chance. Wait in line, all of you lot. You don't call the shots, and I'm not. You saying I'm scared or people saying I'm, ducking or what a bunch of rubbish. Do you know what I mean? It's funny though because then I come face to face with these people and then they're all sweet and ask for a picture. True story. Ask for a picture. There's another thing, going and shaking hands on it. Another thing asking for a picture, and then it's just like, you made me laugh, you people. Do you know what I mean? You made me laugh. It's funny, innit? It's funny though, innit? Come on, Coos.
Well, are you referring to anyone specifically?
The list goes on. There's probably about 4 people have done that, and I thought, just like, what's the matter with you lot? Honestly, do you know what I mean? It's just funny. But social media these days, it's funny. But I ain't bothered. What I've learned about myself is I'm actually a really chilled out guy. Because I think if anyone was to stick it on me, I just don't think I'd have the energy to be bothered. Like I just don't know if I just don't think I'll be bothered. Like, I'm actually so chilled and laid back now. Like it's all half amusing. I don't know where that's come from because I used to be really quite hot-headed and quite aggressive.
It might have something to do with the fact that very soon you're going to be a father. That might have something to do with it.
Do you think so?
Well, it's got to have something to do with it.
Yeah, because unless I'm getting paid, if someone's gone, here's 10G to have a stunt, sweet, I'm on it. But if I ain't getting paid, I don't care. Why am I going to argue with you? You're nothing to me. Got a beautiful wife, baby at home. I've got a beautiful everything. And yet I'm going to argue with you. I ain't got the time of day. But it's funny I find it so funny how as you get older you seem to calm down about everything, even my road rage. I was there feeling blind and, when I first got my licence, hey, come in here, get out of the car and all that. And now I'm like, someone cut me up, I'll say, sorry. I'll say sorry. Even if they cut me up. I know, but it's funny though, innit, Kun? Because you never think I'll be that way, but I am now. Don't be my passenger though, because Vic might beg to differ.
Dear, oh dear. Conor, obviously announced in this schedule is Josh Kelly's fight with David Avanesian as well. Now, talking about fighters you've been linked with over the last sort of couple of years, but this seems to be kind of marinated, if you like, right for this fight to happen at some point this year. And I know that Josh Kelly is a fight that you want.
Of course it is. I mean, we're polar opposites. You know, like Eubank, Ben, you know, I wouldn't say Kelly's as eccentric as Eubank. He's definitely one of a kind, but we're just polar opposites people. We're just completely different. You know, I don't think there's any similarities, and I don't think there's any similarities in our style as well. You know, you'll have all the boxers going, all like the, you know, GB and all the refs and all that who like Kelly's style of fighting, and you know, I'll go in there and, you know, ruin the party.
Do you expect him to come through the David Avanesian fight?
I don't expect it. I'd like him to, because there ain't a level of hate. It ain't hate. There's not been anything bad said towards me or my family via him. We just both want to fight each other. We both want to get in there and, you know, settle the differences, so to speak. And people put him on his pedestal. And, you know, I like the fact that I go into that fight an underdog. I love that fact. The same way he's going into the Avanesian fight as an underdog. So, you know, and that get me up itself. That get me up on itself. So, as far as I see that fight going, it's an hard one, man. It'll answer a lot of questions, though. Because Avanesians look like an animal past few fights. And if you're going on based on last 2-3 performances, you'd think Avanesian would win it. But there's a lot of hype about Kelly. The hype could be true. And, you know, he could box rings around Avanesian if he has the right game plan, if he does the weight cut properly, if he does, you know, X, Y, Z. I don't know how his training camp's going, but, you know, I suppose it's going great. He's had long enough for the fight. You know,
it's the fight that's in curse. It's been put back several times, but we hope on the date it's announced in February that it does take place.
Oh, you just don't know, do you? Yeah, that fight's definitely cursed. I've never seen so many times a fight get cancelled. But, you know, everyone wants the fight. Everyone wants to see the fight.
Well, fair play to, like, Matchroom and Eddie, because they're not, like, putting it off or anything. They're re-announcing it at every opportunity. So hopefully, I think it's the 20th, that fight's scheduled for 20th of February. So, yeah, touch wood, that does take place.
Well, let's hope so, do you know what I mean? We don't know with this COVID, etc. So we just got to hope it takes place.
Do you know, like, as fighters are kind of building their records and having their fights, etc., there's always one fight that kind of, their first, even though you've been in with good opponents, there's fights that people look at and go, right, now we're going to really kind of see what you're about or what Josh Kelly's about. Do you think that fight with Josh Kelly is that?
Oh, 100%. 100%. When he's going into the fight, the underdog, I think when you're going to a fight, the underdog, that's when you really find out about yourself. I don't think Vargas is that fight for me. Maybe to some. But I think if you look at the fight, I think people favour me to win massively against Vargas. But Avanesian Kelly, on the other hand, it's a bit, it's an hard fight now.
So he's got Avanesian, obviously you've got Vargas, but I think for both of you, if he comes through that, touch wood, you come through your fight, then you will be kind of judged on your fight against each other more so than any of your other previous opponents, both of you.
Definitely. I mean, but that was the same with the Formella fight. I think after the Formella fight, people were favouring me to beat Kelly. I think what I showed in the fight was, you know, strength, power, speed for the full 10. For the full 10. I didn't gas out, I didn't get tired, I kept the momentum, I kept the pace, I kept the, you know, the punch output, the speed, the, you know, the power. It was all there for the whole 10. It didn't go nowhere. So, you know, you didn't see me weaken at all, and that's why people were saying I'll get Kelly on later rounds. I'm only getting better. Do you know what I mean? I'm only getting, not, listen, when you work hard at something, you can't help but get better. It's natural. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, Kelly's what, 29? Yeah, just turned 24. So, I'm only getting better. You know, I got a lot left in me. I got a lot left to give to the sport of boxing.
What did your dad say about the Vargas fight?
They kept it from me. Tony, Eddie, and my dad kept it from me until I got back from Dubai, because they knew I was going to be. I would have been out there training. I did train, but I done a few weights here and there. I didn't do nothing too strenuous, but they kept that from me. Dad's, funnily enough, going to me, once you get through Vargas, you have Porter next. So, to be fair, I fancy my chances against Porter. It'd be a hell of a fight, though. You know, and I'd have to go through the gears in that fight. But listen, I love a fight. Do you know what I mean? Why is it okay for Bods to call me out and they're nowhere near my level, but, you know, people can half believe them? I'll call out Porter, Spence, Garcia. I'll call out all of them. I may as well join the mob of delusional fighters out there. Do you know what I mean? So, it's true though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You know, when you have like 5-0 novices calling me out and you think, are you sure, mate? Until they have a draw or get beat. And then you think, how not realistic was that? But yet the public believed it. Do you know what I mean? It's funny though. It's an old funny game, this sport, you know. It's a funny game.
But if you don't want to fight fighters like that, you're in the wrong sport, surely, aren't you? So you're talking about the likes of Porter, etc. If you don't want to fight them guys, then you're in the wrong game, surely, aren't you? Surely,
but there's another thing. Yeah, of course. I'd love to fight Porter. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I think it'd be an hard fight. But what the thing is I know what I can do. I don't think the public have fully yet seen what I can do until I have to show what I've been working on, until it gets to the stage where, you know, it's a pain all over again. You know, when the going gets tough, can I pull it out of the bag? And I think it takes for that to happen, for people to actually realise, yeah, you know what, you can mix it with these lot. Formella was nothing. That was, you know, I had other spars and that. Done what I needed to do. It wasn't an hard fight, was it? Did it look like an hard fight?
No, it didn't look like you got out of second gear.
That's what I'm saying. So, and people writing me off for that fight. I beat him more convincingly than Porter did. More convincingly. You know? So, you know, I fancy my chances against people like Porter. You know, and once I get through Vargas, we'll see what doors open.
Previous to what you're talking about there, when you were talking about fighters calling you out and then making reference to getting draws or getting beat, were you making reference to Florian Marku's draw with Jamie Stewart?
I wasn't referring to that. You know, there's a few fighters who have called me out and then got beat. Do you know what I mean? Loads of fighters throughout my whole career have called me out and got beat. He's one of them, but, you know, there's plenty more who have called me out and been disrespectful and got beat by people they shouldn't have got beat by. And you just think, like, mate, just give it a rest. You know what I mean? I just call it a day. And, you know, fair enough, I had my hard fights early on in my career, but I was 19. I was 19. Do you know what I mean? So when you got people who are like, you know, in their prime, drawing and losing, you know, I think, yeah, mate, you should just probably call it a day. Come on. I'm right. If I'm 28, 29, and I'm drawing with, you know, say a Jamie Stewart, you'd go call it a day, wouldn't you? As a friend, you'd go.
But you would have watched that fight and know that was a harsh decision against Marku. He should have really been given that decision.
Do you know what's mad? And I didn't watch the fight. I watched it back as soon as I got back from Dubai. Funny enough, I've been really into my boxing, watching it lately, and I watched it back, KUGAN, and I'm trying to give Marku rounds. I'm trying to. I know, but then I heard Dave Allen say, yeah, well, you know, Jamie Stewart, you know, I won't write off a draw, and I thought, yeah, okay, Dave Allen's saying that. So let me watch it. I'll watch it. Because everyone was kicking an uproar. So, but then when I've actually watched it, and I'm trying not to, yeah, I think he nicked it, but I don't think the uproar was as, I've seen a lot worse decisions. Like a lot worse decisions, do you know what I mean? So I thought it was a competitive fight. But Jamie Stewart has his life story, which I heard, was a former drug addict, and turned his life around, and then he just shouldn't be drawing with guys like he shouldn't even. There should be no competitive rounds. Think about if he was in with a young Ben at 19. Just think about that. What would have happened to Jamie Stewart with a 19-year-old Ben? Answer it. Go on.
No, I understand the point you're making. I'm not going to.
No, answer it.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to start.
You
listen.
know where I'm going with this.
No, I know where you're going with this as well.
What would you have? With a 19-year-old Ben, 3 fights in? What would have happened?
Well, I'm sure you would have.
Bingo, dude.
Again, that ain't my job to say that, but I understand where you're going with this.
That is
I
your job, 'cause you're a boxing
No. Listen, that's not my job to say that you would have done that.
No, but you know. So
but I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying I disagree with you. No, I'm not sitting on the fence. It's just disrespectful for me to sit here and go, yeah, you would have smashed him all around the place. It is disrespectful for me to say that to Jamie Stewart. Do you get that?
Oh, come on, mate. I know what you've done there. The way you managed to twist that was absolutely brilliant. Like, fair play to you.
Connor, could you imagine? Listen, for me to sit here and go, yes, as a...
No. All right, I like Jamie Stewart. Like, he put one hell of a fight on 4 days' notice as well. Like, that's blinding, honestly. Like, I'm not being disrespectful.
You can say that. You can say that. You can say that.
Now, what you've done is made me look like the bad geezer here.
No, because you can say that. Connor, you can say that.
Not really, because it is disrespectful.
No,
but
it isn't.
No,
it isn't.
Pointed it out that it's disrespectful. No. What you've done here now is you've made a big mess out of this with just a simple question to save your back.
Right, so how should I have answered it then?
You should have gone... Yeah, Connor, you were young and you were raw and you would have tried taking him out, and the likeness of you take... You know what you could have said?
All I was saying is...
No, make me out like the bad guy. Jamie,
I'm not.
Listen, Jamie, it ain't me, mate. I did not mean no disrespect by that, but if he wants to twist that and make it out like it's disrespect, I rate you, mate. 4 days' notice, fair play to you. But he twisted this big time.
You as a boxer have the right to say you can do anything to anyone.
Oh, so you don't give your prediction on fights now?
When have you ever heard me give a prediction on camera? Turn that camera off and we'll talk all day long, as we have done over the last however many years. But I'm just saying, I couldn't say what you were implying.
No comment.
Shout out Jamie Stewart anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Conor Benn, listen, appreciate your time as always. We'll look forward to a great card actually on April the 10th as well. Kind of the final fight night in the fights that Eddie Hearn has announced so far. So best of luck with that. And have you got anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
Yeah, I've got a little message to Vargas. Yo no tengo miedo de nadie. ¿Me entiendes? Yo soy listo para pelear ahora. Yo no tengo miedo de nadie. ¿Me entiendes? ¿Me estás escuchando? Cuando metemos en el ring, vas a ver quién es el rey. Y yo soy listo para pelear ahora. ¿Me entiendes? Escúchame.
For our viewers that have English as their first language, could you translate some of that for us, please?
Yeah, I just told him I'm ready to fight. I fear no man. And if, he's going to get it. And when we get in the ring, it'll see who the king is. I train hard for this. I don't fear no man. So when we get in there, meet me in the middle of the ring. And we'll leave it all on the line.
Okay. Well, Conor, like I said, thank you very much. A big 3 months for you. Obviously, you have that fight with Vargas, but also you have the birth of your first baby boy. Have you even thought about whether you'd allow your son to fight? Have you thought about that?
No, mate. No, son ain't fighting. You don't need to fight. I didn't need to fight. And I know my dad didn't want me to fight, but I was a problem. And I had more of my dad in me. As the generations go on, hopefully that fizzles out. So I'm hoping my son has a little bit less me and my dad. And more of Victoria. Although she's quite feisty. Do you know what? When you actually look at it and match it up, he's either going to be a problem or he's going to be like my little brother Levi, who's just so gentle and beautiful natured. He buried his goldfish the other day. but he was like really upset about his goldfish. It was really cute. You know, when my goldfish died, I fed it to the dogs.
Okay.
No, I know, but I know. And that's what sort of child I was in comparison to what my other siblings are like. I loved the goldfish and all, but he died. I don't know how he died, but he died. And, you know, I had a dog called Seal. Was you
Yeah, no, when you were talking about that, I pictured you doing this last week, and then you reminded me you were talking about when you were a child, yeah.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no.
Sorry,
no.
in my head it was like, okay, but you're talking about when you was a child, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely when I was a child. You'd feed the goldfish to your dog, wouldn't you? Or would you bury him?
I'd probably go the burial route myself.
Do you know what? This whole interview, you've made me out like...
All right, I'll tell you what, I'd feed it to the lions just to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you made me look like right wrong in this whole interview. But it's all right, though, because one of us got to be the bad guy. You know, Scarface said it best. Say good night to the bad guy. It's all right, though, because, you know, I know what I'm getting with you now.
I'm Team Levi on this. I'm sorry, I would have buried the goldfish.
Well, you know, I gave him to my dogs.
Okay, it's what it is. It's fine. You don't want me to be one of the people who just agrees with everything you say, surely?
No, I don't expect you to be a yes man. But there's a picture you can paint. And you ain't painted a good one of me.
Well, you were young, you were a little bit reckless, probably a little bit, you know.
Just watch it.
Yeah, all your thoughts running away from yourself. It's one of them things. I'm sure people have done worse.
What are you saying? I was a troubled child?
All right. Before I put it in my mouth anymore, Conor Benn, thank you very much for talking to iFeel TV. Best of luck with everything over the next couple of months.
Pleasure. Got full house renovation happening, baby on the way, big headline event. It's all happening, but, you know, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors. So, yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. It's all about progress. But with progress comes its own challenges. But, you know, I'd rather have progress and, you know, more challenges in the right direction than, you know, staying static. But thank you, KUGAN. I'm sure I'll see you soon. You know, it's all happening. See you soon, Cougs. Take care, people.
Conor, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you soon.